Paul Anka on Sean and On Wednesday night at 7:30.
This is NBC Nightly News. With John Chancellor in New York, David Brinkley in Washington, and tonight's segment 3, Brian Ross's report on the migrant worker.
Good evening. George Moscone, the mayor of San Francisco, was shot dead in his office in City Hall this morning. So was Harvey Milk, a city supervisor. Both shot, both murdered. Apparently, there was no connection here with the Jim Jones cult, which is based in San Francisco. The police arrested Dan White, a one-time city supervisor who had resigned and wanted Moscone to reappoint him, but he had not agreed to do so. Here's Rick Davis in San Francisco.
This single bouquet of flowers was on the steps of City Hall. It was placed under the mayor's window just a few moments after the death of Mayor George Moscone. The flags were at half-staff moments later as the city learned that the mayor and Supervisor Harvey Milk had been murdered. When word of the deaths first came down, first thoughts were of the People's Temple story. Reports that there was an assassination squad with a hit list naming city politicians. But it was not that. It was city politics gone mad. This is former Supervisor Dan White a few weeks ago on the day he resigned from office, saying the job didn't pay enough to support his family. Later, White changed his mind and wanted his job back, but Mayor Moscone was about to appoint someone else today. Dan White was a former police officer and fireman. Today at 11 a.m., he went to City Hall, to the office of the mayor, and shot and killed him, according to witnesses. This was George Moscone last Wednesday, weeping at the funeral of his close friend, Congressman Leo Ryan, killed in Guyana. Now this city weeps for George Moscone. This is the body of Supervisor Harvey Milk as it was taken from City Hall. Witnesses say after killing the mayor, White ran down the hall and fired 3 shots at Milk, killing him. Milk had opposed the reappointment of White. In the total confusion after the shooting, the president of the Board of Supervisors, Dianne Feinstein, spoke.
Both Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk have been shot and killed. Oh, Jesus Christ! The suspect is Supervisor Dan White.
A few moments later, Dan White surrendered to the police. This is a stunned city. There are those who spoke of the charm and youthful ability of Dan White. There were many who thought someday he could have been mayor of this city. Rick Davis, NBC News, San Francisco.
It is a shock to San Franciscans who live in a beautiful city noted for its lively and often unorthodox politicians. Jack Perkins has more on this.
George Moscone was a Navy veteran, a bright young lawyer who got into politics 15 years ago. First, as one of the youngest members ever of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, then a state senator, an extremely active and productive state senator. From this base, 2 years ago, he ran for and was elected mayor of San Francisco. It was a narrow victory, only 2%, but a victory nonetheless, and Democratic Party bosses were ecstatic. George Moscone wept with joy that night. As mayor, he felt his strength was the politician's ability to balance divergent elements, to settle a thorny strike of municipal workers, to keep the town's baseball team, the Giants, from leaving San Francisco. As mayor, he made one ill-fated appointment. The Reverend Jim Jones, appointed to the city's housing authority by Mayor Moscone.
I appointed somebody who had a reputation as a peacemaker in this city, who had worked with poor people and people in frustration, whose reputation was that you do not resort to violent means, you deal with reason and persuasion.
This was the other victim today, the man in the suit, Harvey Milk, the most unorthodox politician, a homosexual, elected not in spite of it, but because of it, in a district that is largely homosexual. As a member of the Board of Supervisors, Harvey Milk championed homosexual rights. The one